What are you doing here?
I'm getting my mail. I live here.
This building's been having a lot of problems lately. I need to see your ID.
I'm in my own building getting my mail. Why would I need to show ID?
Because I'm telling you to, so stop acting tough and show me your ID.
Buddy, trust me, you're missing the wrong person.
The security camera above the mailboxes was recording everything. Every move the officer made, every word spoken, every second of what would become the most expensive evidence-planting case in Chicago PD history. The officer had no idea that the quiet man reaching for his mail was a high school civics teacher who taught constitutional law to teenagers every single day and who was about to teach him a lesson he'd never forget. At exactly 4:37 p.m., on a cold February afternoon in Chicago's South Side, what should have been a simple trip to check the mail turned into a federal case that would expose a pattern of falsified arrests spanning 8 years, cost the city $1.2 million, and prove that sometimes the person you're trying to frame knows exactly what you're doing. This wasn't just another story of police misconduct. This was a civics teacher with 22 years of experience educating students about their rights, going up against an officer who thought he could manufacture probable cause. What happened next would shock an entire community and show that security cameras catch everything. Before we continue, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments. And hit that subscribe button because this story has twists you won't believe and I don't want you to miss a single moment. Elijah Brooks was 51 years old and had been teaching at Lincoln High School for 22 years. He taught civics, government, and constitutional law to juniors and seniors. He was the kind of teacher students remember decades later. The kind who made the Constitution come alive, who could explain the Fourth Amendment with real examples, who trained students to think critically about their rights. Elijah had a master's degree in political science from Northwestern University. He had published articles in education journals about teaching constitutional rights to urban youth. He coached the mock trial team that had won state championships 3 years running. He ran a summer program teaching students how to interact with police safely and legally. But Elijah wasn't just an academic. He had grown up on the south side of Chicago. He knew what it meant to be a black man in America. He had been stopped by police more times than he could count, pulled over for driving in the wrong neighborhood, questioned for walking down his own street, asked for ID while sitting in his own car. Every single one of those experiences had become a teaching moment for his students. He would tell them exactly what happened, what the law said, what rights he had, how he responded. He taught them that knowing your rights wasn't being difficult. It was being prepared. Elijah lived in a 4-story apartment building in Bronzeville. It was a working-class neighborhood, mostly black families, teachers, nurses, bus drivers, people who worked hard and kept to themselves. His building had 12 units, a small lobby with mailboxes, and a security camera system that the landlord had installed 2 years ago after a package theft problem. On this particular Tuesday in February, Elijah had just gotten home from school. It was around 4:30 in the afternoon. He had stayed late for a faculty meeting about standardized testing. He was tired. He wanted to check his mail, make some dinner, and grade papers. He walked into his building's lobby. The space was small, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet, with mailboxes along one wall and the staircase on the other side. The security camera was mounted in the corner near the ceiling, pointed at the mailboxes and the entrance. Elijah was alone in the lobby. He walked to his mailbox, number 7, and started unlocking it with his key. That's when Officer Ryan Keller walked in. Ryan was 34 years old, white, with the kind of swagger that came from 8 years of doing whatever he wanted without consequences. He had been with Chicago PD for 8 years. His record showed 43 commendations for arrests. It also showed 9 complaints for excessive force, all dismissed. 11 complaints for improper searches, all dismissed. 6 complaints for false arrest, all dismissed. Ryan had a pattern. He would target people in certain neighborhoods, manufacture probable cause, make arrests that resulted in charges that got dropped later, and collect commendations for his arrest numbers. The system worked for him because the people he targeted usually didn't have the resources or knowledge to fight back effectively. Ryan had been watching the building for 20 minutes. He had run the plates of cars parked outside. He had noted who entered and exited. He was looking for someone to stop, someone to search, someone who might have something he could arrest him for. When Elijah walked into the lobby alone, Ryan saw an opportunity. "What are you doing here?" Ryan said, his hand moving to his weapon. Elijah looked up from his mailbox, key still in his hand. His first thought was confusion. He was in his own building, getting his own mail, doing nothing wrong. "I'm getting my mail. I live here. This building's been having a lot of problems lately. I need to see your ID." Elijah's training kicked in, not police training, teacher training. the kind of calm, analytical thinking that comes from dealing with tense situations in classrooms for 2 decades. He assessed the situation. One officer, no backup visible, vague claims about problems in the building, demanding ID without legal justification. This was profiling. I'm in my own building getting my mail. Why would I need to show ID? Because I'm telling you to. So stop acting tough and show me your ID. Elijah felt a flash of anger at the condescension, but kept his voice level. The officer was trying to provoke him. He wouldn't take the bait. Buddy, trust me, you're messing with the wrong person. The words came out calmly, but with absolute confidence. Elijah knew exactly what his rights were. He knew this stop was illegal, and he was about to make sure this officer learned a lesson he'd never forget. Ryan's expression darkened. Oh yeah? We'll see about that. Turn around. You're being detained. Elijah made a decision. He was going to comply physically while asserting his rights verbally. It's what he taught his students. It's what keeps you safe while protecting your legal position. Can you tell me why I'm being detained? What's the legal basis for this stop? Quick question for you watching. If you were in Elijah's situation, would you stay calm or would you be scared? Type your answer below. Ryan didn't answer. He grabbed Elijah's arm and pulled him away from the mailbox, spinning him around to face the wall. Elijah didn't resist. He let his body go where Ryan moved it, but he kept talking. Officer, I'm complying with your commands. I'm not resisting, but I need to know why I'm being detained. I have the right to know the legal basis for this stop. Ryan pushed Elijah against the wall and started patting him down. Aggressive, invasive, the kind of search that's meant to intimidate as much as investigate. Elijah kept his hands visible, pressed against the wall. His phone was in his jacket pocket. His keys were still in his hand. His wallet was in his back pocket. Nothing illegal, nothing suspicious. What's your name? Ryan demanded. Elijah Brooks. I live in apartment 7B. I'm a teacher at Lincoln High School. I was just getting my mail. You got ID in my wallet, back right pocket. You're welcome to retrieve it. Ryan pulled out Elijah's wallet roughly and opened it. He looked at the driver's license. The address matched the building. The photo matched the man. Everything was legitimate. But Ryan wasn't interested in legitimate. He was interested in an arrest. And now this guy was talking about being the wrong person to mess with? Ryan would show him who was in charge here. What are you doing in this neighborhood at this time of day? Ryan asked. It was a ridiculous question, and Elijah knew it. I live here. This is my home. I teach at Lincoln High, which is 6 blocks away. I've lived in this building for 14 years. You seem nervous. I'm not nervous. I'm concerned about why I'm being detained without explanation. Under Terry versus Ohio, you need reasonable suspicion of criminal activity to detain me. Can you articulate what crime you suspect me of committing? Ryan's jaw tightened. People who knew the law annoyed him. They made his job harder. And this one had the audacity to warn him he was messing with the wrong person. Time to show him how wrong he was about that. I'm investigating drug activity in this area. Am I suspected of drug activity? You're in a high crime area. Living in a high crime area isn't probable cause for a search. The Supreme Court established that in multiple cases, including Illinois versus Wardlow, geographic location alone doesn't create reasonable suspicion. Ryan pulled Elijah away from the wall and pushed him toward the mailboxes. Keep your hands where I can see them. Elijah complied. His hands stayed visible. His voice stayed calm, but his mind was racing. Something was very wrong here. This officer had no legal basis for this stop. He was fishing. But for what? Ryan looked around the lobby. He glanced at the security camera for just a second, then looked away. He positioned himself between Elijah and the mailboxes, his back partially to the camera. Then Elijah saw it happen. Ryan's hand went to his pocket. He pulled something out, something small, wrapped in plastic. He held it low, near his waist, trying to keep it out of Elijah's direct line of sight. Then Ryan dropped it on the floor near Elijah's feet. The whole thing took maybe 3 seconds, but Elijah saw it, every detail. The item came from Ryan's pocket, not from Elijah, not from the floor, from Ryan's pocket. What's this? Ryan said loudly, pointing at the floor. Elijah looked down. A small plastic baggie. It looked like it had white powder in it, planted right there in front of him. That's not mine, Elijah said immediately. That came from your pocket. I watched you drop it. Ryan's hand moved to his radio. I've got a subject in possession of suspected narcotics. Elijah felt his heart rate spike for the first time. This was serious. This officer was planting evidence. This could destroy his career, his reputation, his life. But then Elijah remembered something. The security camera. The camera that was mounted in the corner, pointing at the mailboxes, recording everything. Officer, I need to inform you that this lobby has a security camera It's recording right now. It recorded you dropping that baggie from your own pocket. Ryan froze, just for a second, but Elijah saw it. The moment of panic, the realization. I don't know what you're talking about, Ryan said, but his voice had changed. Less confident, more defensive. The camera is right there, Elijah said, gesturing with his head toward the corner. It has a clear view of everything that just happened. It will show that baggie came from your pocket, not from me. You just planted evidence on a teacher who was getting his mail, and now his expression was completely calm, almost sympathetic. I tried to tell you, buddy, you were messing with the wrong person. Do you think the officer knew at this point he was finished? Type yes or no in the comments. Ryan looked at the camera, then at Elijah, then at the baggie on the floor. His mind was clearly racing through his options. Pick it up and leave? Continue with the arrest and hope the footage disappears? Double down and claim Elijah is lying? Before Ryan could decide, the building's front door opened. 3 people walked in, residents coming home from work. They stopped when they saw a police officer with a man against the wall. Everything okay? One of them asked. A woman in her 50s carrying grocery bags. This officer just planted drugs near me, Elijah said calmly and clearly. I was getting my mail. He detained me without cause, searched me, and then dropped a baggie from his own pocket and claimed it was mine. The security camera recorded everything. The residents looked shocked. They knew Elijah. He had lived in the building for 14 years. He was the quiet teacher in 7B who helped kids with their homework in the lobby sometimes. That's Elijah, one of the other residents said. He teaches at Lincoln. He's been here forever. Ryan realized he had an audience now. Witnesses, people who knew the victim, people who would back up his story. Everyone step back, Ryan said. This is police business. This is false arrest and evidence planting, Elijah said. And I'm going to file a formal complaint the moment you leave. The security footage will prove everything I'm saying. Ryan made his decision. He picked up the baggie from the floor and put it back in his pocket. You're free to go, he said quickly. I want your name and badge number, Elijah said. You're free to go, Ryan repeated, walking toward the door. Officer, you detained me illegally. You searched me without cause. You planted evidence. I'm a civics teacher. I know exactly what my rights are, and I know exactly what you just did. I need your identification. Ryan turned at the door. His face was red. His jaw was clenched. Officer Ryan Keller, badge number 4183, he said. Then he left. The 3 residents who had witnessed the end of the encounter gathered around Elijah. Are you okay? The woman with groceries asked. I'm fine, but I need all of you to write down exactly what you saw and heard. I'm going to need witness statements. They all agreed immediately. Elijah went upstairs to his apartment. His hands were shaking now. The adrenaline was hitting him. He had just been targeted for a false arrest, a planted drug charge, something that could have destroyed everything he'd worked for. But he had something most people in his situation didn't have: evidence, clear, recorded evidence. Elijah called his cousin, a civil rights attorney named Vanessa Brooks Holloway. He explained everything: the illegal detention, the search, the planted baggie, the security camera. Vanessa's response was immediate. Don't touch anything. Don't talk to anyone from the police department. I'm coming over right now, and we're going to secure that footage before anything happens to it. Vanessa arrived 30 minutes later with a paralegal. They went straight to the building's landlord, who lived on the first floor. They explained what happened and asked for a copy of the security footage. The landlord, a Filipino man named Mr. Santos, looked horrified. Elijah is one of my best tenants. Of course, I'll give you the footage. That officer should not have done that. Mr. Santos pulled up the security system on his computer. He found the timestamp, 4:37 p.m. He played it back. The footage was crystal clear, high definition color. Audio wasn't great, but the video was perfect. It showed Elijah entering the lobby alone, walking to his mailbox, starting to unlock it, then Officer Ryan Keller entering the entire confrontation, Elijah's hands staying visible, Ryan searching him, Ryan looking at the camera briefly, Ryan positioning himself partially blocking the camera's view, Ryan's hand going to his pocket, Ryan pulling something out, Ryan dropping it near Elijah's feet, Ryan pointing at it, all of it, frame by frame, undeniable. Vanessa watched it 3 times. The paralegal took notes. Mr. Santos made 2 copies on USB drives and sent the original file to Vanessa's email. This is the clearest evidence of evidence planting I've ever seen, Vanessa said. We're filing federal charges, civil rights violation, false arrest, abuse of authority, and we're going after the Chicago PD for failing to supervise this officer. They filed the lawsuit 72 hours later. The complaint was 81 pages long. It included the security footage, witness statements from the 3 residents, Elijah's own statement, Ryan Kelleher's personnel file that they obtained through discovery, and a pattern analysis showing that Ryan had made 47 arrests in the previous 3 years, where charges were dropped due to lack of evidence. The media got hold of the story within a week. A high school civics teacher, a cop planting drugs, security footage showing everything. It went viral. The video was broadcast on local news, then national news. Then it spread across social media. Millions of views, thousands of comments. People were outraged. Chicago PD had no choice but to respond. Ryan Kelleher was placed on administrative leave immediately. Internal Affairs opened an investigation. The Cook County State's Attorney announced they were reviewing every single arrest Ryan had made in his 8 years on the force. The investigation took 3 months. They reviewed Ryan's arrest records. They looked at his pattern of stops. They interviewed people he had arrested. They found 23 cases where people claimed Ryan had planted evidence or lied about probable cause. 23 cases that had been dismissed or resulted in acquittals, but nobody had ever investigated why. The Internal Affairs report was devastating. Ryan had been manufacturing arrests for years. He would stop people in certain neighborhoods, claim to smell marijuana or see suspicious behavior, search them aggressively, and if he found nothing, sometimes he would plant something small, a baggie, a pill, just enough to make an arrest. Most of the victims never fought back because they didn't have resources. They took plea deals to avoid trial. They accepted records they didn't deserve. They lost jobs, housing, opportunities. But Elijah had fought back, and because he fought back, the pattern was finally exposed. Ryan Kelleher was fired from Chicago PD. But that wasn't enough. The Cook County State's Attorney filed criminal charges, official misconduct, evidence tampering, deprivation of rights under color of law. The criminal trial lasted 2 weeks. The security footage was played in court. The jury saw everything. Ryan's attorney tried to argue that Ryan had found the baggie on the floor and was trying to determine if it belonged to Elijah, but the video clearly showed Ryan pulling it from his own pocket. The jury deliberated for 90 minutes, guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced Ryan to 6 years in prison. In his statement at sentencing, the judge said that police officers who plant evidence betray the trust of every citizen and deserve the harshest punishment the law allows. But the civil case was even bigger. Elijah's lawsuit went to trial 9 months after the incident. The city tried to settle before trial, offering $300,000. Elijah and Vanessa refused. They wanted accountability. They wanted a jury to see what happened. The trial lasted 11 days. Vanessa presented the security footage. She presented Ryan's history. She presented the 23 other people who claimed Ryan had targeted them. She presented expert testimony about the psychological impact of false arrest on innocent people. The city's attorneys argued that Ryan was a rogue officer, that the department couldn't be held responsible for one bad cop, that they had policies against this behavior. Vanessa destroyed those arguments. She showed that Ryan had 9 complaints dismissed without investigation. She showed that his supervisors had praised his arrest numbers without questioning why so many resulted in dropped charges. She showed that the department's accountability systems had failed repeatedly. The jury found in Elijah's favor on every count. They awarded him $1.2 million in damages. More importantly, they sent a message that false arrests and planted evidence would not be tolerated. Do you think $1.2 million was enough for what he went through? Let me know in the comments. Elijah donated $500,000 to organizations that provide legal aid to people falsely accused of crimes. He kept the rest to secure his retirement and set up college funds for his nieces and nephews. But the real impact wasn't the money. It was what happened next. The Chicago PD implemented mandatory body cameras for all officers within 6 months. They created an early warning system to identify officers with patterns of dropped charges or dismissed cases. They established an independent review board to investigate complaints about evidence planting or false arrest. They also started a program where Elijah came to the police academy to teach officers about constitutional rights from a citizen's perspective. He showed them the video of his own detention. He walked them through what he was thinking, what he was feeling, how he responded. He taught them that people who know their rights aren't criminals. They're educated citizens who deserve respect. Elijah continued teaching at Lincoln High School. He's still there. His students call him the teacher who took down a dirty cop. He doesn't like the nickname, but he uses the story in his classes. Every year, when he teaches the Fourth Amendment, he tells his students what happened to him. He shows them the security footage. He walks them through his rights, Ryan's violations, how the system worked, and how it failed. He always mentions the moment he told the officer, You're messing with the wrong person. His students laugh at that part. But then Elijah gets serious and explains that he didn't mean it as a threat. He meant it as a fact. The wrong person wasn't someone who would fight or run. The wrong person was someone who knew the law, stayed calm, and had evidence. That's what made him the wrong person to target. He tells them 3 things: know your rights, stay calm, document everything. And he tells them one more thing: the system is supposed to protect you, but sometimes it doesn't. When that happens, you have to fight back. Not with violence, not with anger, but with knowledge, evidence, and persistence. Ryan Kelleher served 4 years of his 6-year sentence before being released on parole. He's not allowed to work in law enforcement ever again. He lives in a different state now, working construction. He gave one interview after his release where he claimed he was just doing his job and that Elijah had made it all seem worse than it was. He never apologized. He never admitted what he did was wrong. But it doesn't matter what Ryan says. The video exists. The court records exist. The truth is documented. Elijah still lives in the same building, same apartment. Mr. Santos upgraded the security camera system after the incident. Now there are cameras in the lobby, the hallways, and near all the entrances. High definition, with audio, cloud backup. The residents feel safer knowing they're protected. Not from criminals, from police who might try what Ryan tried. Final question for you. Do you think all apartment buildings should be required to have security cameras? Type yes or no below. This story matters because it shows that false arrests happen. Evidence gets planted, officers abuse their power, and most of the time, the victims don't have the resources or knowledge to fight back. Elijah Brooks was lucky. He knew his rights. He stayed calm. He had evidence. He had a lawyer in the family. He had a community that supported him. Most people don't have those advantages. Most people take plea deals. Most people accept records they don't deserve. Most people never get justice. That's why Elijah's story is so important. Not just because he won, but because he exposed a pattern that had been going on for years. He saved other people from being victimized by the same officer. He forced the system to change. One security camera, one calm teacher, one viral video. 8 years of dirty arrests exposed, $1.2 million awarded, one cop in prison, one police department forced to reform, and hundreds of students taught that knowing your rights can save your life. That's the power of knowledge. That's the importance of documentation. That's what happens when someone refuses to accept injustice and fights back with evidence and persistence. Thanks for watching this story all the way to the end. If this taught you something or opened your eyes, make sure you're subscribed, because I bring you more stories like this that need to be heard. Drop a comment about what you would have done if you were Elijah. And share this with someone who needs to know that security cameras protect you from more than just criminals. See you in the next one.